Good day, learners. Welcome to Mathematical Literacy, Grade 11. I am Miss Nina Obervermeulen, and today we're going to look at graphs that tells a story. Now, did you know you can use graphs everywhere, even in the media? Say, for instance, we asked learners, what media are you using more than before? And we gave them smartphones, TV, magazines, manga or books, and then PCs. You'll see that the junior high school students mostly use their smartphones. High school students is over there with their smartphones, a little bit less than the junior ones, and the university are using smartphones even less. The university learners would rather then use a smartphone and a TV, and that is how you interpret a graph. What is our lesson objective? At the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain the story or message represented on a graph, describe relationships between two or more variables, and then describe the significance of certain points on a graph. Let's look at the concept map. Today, we're looking at graphs telling the story. First, we're going to go and look at proportion, which is direct proportion and indirect proportion. And then after that, we are going to look at variables, being the dependent variable and the independent variable. Our pre-knowledge is working with different graphs, explaining the story or message from a graph, and then also knowing the meaning of the graph is constant. Now that is where the graph is stationary and it forms a flat line. Now the x-axis, this is the information on the horizontal line of a graph that represents the independent variable. And then the y-axis, this is the information on the vertical line that represents the dependent variable. Now remember, if we look at an axis, x is wide, and therefore it's going to be horizontal. And then a y is long, so it's going to be vertical. And if I need to remember what is independent and dependent, independent is the x. After a relationship is broken up, the x moves on, and you keep on asking why. And that is then dependent. So I depend on my x, and then that's another way of reminding yourself what is dependent and independent. Let's look at some questions. Use the graph to answer the questions that follow. Identify the independent variable. Now, what is this graph about? It is about the sales of necklaces. There is the number of necklaces, and then at the bottom, the x-axis is the number of days. Now remember, if I sell necklaces, I need to be able to sell them. So I need to be able to go to the market, and I can only go to the market on a day. There must be days. So then the independent is going to be the x-axis there, and that is the days. Next question. How many necklaces were sold on Wednesday? So first, I find Wednesday on my graph, go up to the dot, then go to the y-axis, and then you will see it was 8 necklaces that they sold. From Thursday to Friday, the graph did not change. What does that mean? So it's over here. That is Thursday and Friday. And the graph remains at 10. So that means it was on both days they sold the same amount of necklaces. Remember, a flat line like that shows us that something, one of the variables, remains constant. The last question. On which day was the highest number of necklaces sold? So Monday was 8, Tuesday was round about 17, Wednesday the same as Monday, there it's going to be, as I said, 10 or 11, and Saturday and Sunday. So the highest is there, which is then Tuesday. Let's look at the new words and language. Independent variable, it is the variable that stands alone and is not changed by other variables. Dependent variable, a value that depends on another value. It depends on another value. Critical values, a minimum and maximum point on the graph. A function, it is a relationship where each independent variable has only one specific dependent variable. Positive straight line is an increasing function, that's positive and straight. A horizontal line, a point on the graph, sorry for that, where there is no movement, we say it's constant at that point, that will be a horizontal line. A curved line, also called a non-linear graph, it mostly represents independent variables. That will be a curve, something that is not straight. And then the slope of a line, or the slope of a line on a straight line graph is the steepness of a line. So if we look at a set of axes, that or those, the steepness of the two lines will then determine the slope. That brings us to an ad break. I'll see you now.